This is Outside the Box with Asendia USA, a podcast educating U.S.-based brands, marketplaces, and e-tailers on international shipping topics and how they can expand their global e-commerce footprint.
This is Charvon Hales, co-producer of Outside the Box with Asendia USA, bringing you a rewind episode with highlights from some of our 2024 guest interviews. We kicked off our podcast with a discussion on the nuances of e-commerce shipping to Canada, highlighting the challenges and best practices for U.S. retailers. Dave Mays, CEO of Broadreach and the Asendia Company, shared his extensive knowledge on the importance of understanding the Canadian market.
Dave, I have a question for you. So one of the big themes that I've been discussing with customers on a customer-facing, meaning talking with the online retailers, the subscription boxes, is the focus of the customer experience. I do want to talk a little bit specifically about what you've created, you and your team have created with the Broadreach network, and how you guys are able to improve the customer experience over, let's say, something like an integrated courier like the FedEx or UPS, or even you mentioned Purelator. Could you talk to that for a couple minutes?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a careful description, and the reason I say that, well, first off, there's no formulas in shipping. There's nothing that's proprietary. There's nothing that we're doing that is an invention of some cutting edge service that no one's going to be able to replicate. But there are some best practices and some things that we do with our transport network. There are some ways that we clear customs, all forward thinking and compliant. There's bond utilization. There's all sorts of cross-dock partner network connecting that we do to achieve the outcome that we have. And we want to continue to describe that. We want to continue to have merchants trust us, and we want to continue to beat the competition in terms of service quality. At the end of the day, we have the fewest number of touches, the fewest miles or kilometers traveled, and the lowest cost, most efficient network after 2 years for US to Canada straight away. Now, some of that is related to our size. We don't have trains, planes, and automobiles that are running all over the North American network like some of the large integrated couriers. We were very surgical. We were very precise in how we set up the network, and we did it based on a post-COVID era, which is, we'll just say things were getting a little bit frothy in there in 21/22. So a very fresh approach. We really focused on middle mile. We focused on middle mile speed. We focused on getting to all the major cities in Canada, whether it's ground or air. We have a fantastic partnership with Air Canada that reaches anywhere between 8 and 12 major cities in Canada for an expedited product that's been very successful. We're working with these alternate delivery providers, moving times around to have preferential service picking up 1-2 days, depending on the province, depending on the U.S. origin shipping point. Again, all end to end in terms of not only custody, but also visibility and transparency to those packages. The customs clearance process, probably don't want to go into too much detail on this because we will definitely bore the listeners, but we have automated it entirely. We have bonded trucks and bonded facilities. We do an electronic release, and anytime there's an inspection, we rifle through what we call, containers that are marked with those parcels. We pull the held parcels, and everything else flows through. So even if there are inspections or holds or delays, it only would affect a small parcels that would be targeted. So we've built operation technology and a system to, we think, compete with even the express carriers. I mean, some of the markets out of the U.S. that we're getting service into Greater Toronto and or Eastern Canada, out of the Northeast in the U.S. are faster than you could get if you actually flew it on a plane that went through Memphis or Louisville and had a delivery by a purple tail or a brown van.
In episode 5, we delved into the intricacies of navigating the global e-commerce landscape, particularly as it pertains to subscription-based businesses. Our guest, John Haji, who is the co-founder and head of partnerships at SUBSUMMIT and a recognized authority in the subscription industry, used his extensive background to highlight the importance of strategic planning and execution when expanding a subscription business across borders.
I want to start with this number here that we discovered today, that the subscription box market ending 2023 is an approximate $33 billion market. I mean, I remember the first SUBSUMMIT. I mean, it's insane. So tell us a little bit about that. What growth areas do you see in the subscription, the physical box space? I don't really want to spend any time today on digital, if that's okay. Talk more about the box market in particular.
Yeah, I mean, look, it almost seems like there's a subscription box out there for everything: sponges, toilet paper, men's fashion accessories. The food and beverage space seems to be a space that is growing exponentially year over year. I think what you'll find in the subscription box space is anybody that's incorporating some sort of product that is replenishable and depletable is seeing a lot of success. And, e-commerce and consumer brands that have a product that is consumable and depletable and replenishable are looking for ways to pivot into the subscription model. And so that's where you're seeing a lot of growth. I mean, yeah, you know it. For SUBSUMMIT, first year, 200 people. This year, on pace for 2,000 people. So we've been seeing growth across the subscription industry as a whole.
Yeah, and congrats to you and Chris and the team on the success that you guys have had as well. And I look to myself, and between myself and my wife, the number of subscriptions that we have. And I mean, every house is filled with something at this point. JW is just talking about his wife just got something the other day. I forget already what the name is, but we don't need to promote any names here on this. But more importantly, it's just to talk about, people look at, I think oftentimes that I'll talk to people that are outside the industry and they'll say something like, is this, is it a fad? The subscription box. I'm sure you've heard that. It is certainly not.
No, it's certainly not. I mean, like there's always a time within every industry where the question is like, is this bubble going to burst? We're not seeing that, right? It's not a fad. It's only growing exponentially. I mean, the trends, you're saying 33 billion in the subscription box space, but the subscription industry as a whole is going to hit $2 trillion in the next few years. So it's not a fad. I think we're seeing more and more. Again, it's nice to see, but you even see some of these enterprise and legacy brands figuring out ways to kind of pivot into the subscription model, because who doesn't love recurring revenue?
In episode 6 of Outside the Box with Asendia USA, we discussed the crucial topic of international returns, specifically focusing on the Asendia e-PAQ returns product. With insights from industry experts Helen Scurfield, CEO of Asendia Global Returns, and Aloni, our e-PAQ returns manager at Asendia USA, the discussion covered how retailers can improve customer experience by simplifying returns.
What is your definition of easy returns? What does that exactly mean for a shopper?
Okay, I think for me, it's really about making it as simple as almost returning it to a store or that domestic experience. I think there's a view that international returns is not simple. You've got customs in the way. Items have got to travel a long way. It's expensive. But really, from a retailer perspective, it's selling to a consumer, and then for that consumer just to be able to send it back, to be able to get their refund quickly, to be able to see that their item is making it back to the retailer, because they just want the money back, and then potentially shop again or whatever. So the more barriers you put up, because maybe they've got to fill in paperwork or mail it back, go to the post office and stick it in the mail and pay for it themselves, it starts to deter people. And it's really about making that experience just as easy as possible, so that you buy, you try on, doesn't fit, don't like it, and back it goes. Really as simple as taking it back to the store.
So how do we position it in terms of, positioning towards, mid-market level clients, in terms of more of their profile, and also enterprise level customers as well? If you guys could speak on that for a minute, that would be, I think, very important.
I don't mind taking this on, Helen, if you want, or whatever.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that is a very big pain point, Nick, specifically. I think a lot of smaller retailers don't want to deal with it just because of the fact that it's they may not have enough volume, or there's a lot of the solutions are kind of like plug and play essentially, which may not be fit their needs. But I think the way that we can combat that is to have more of like a discovery process for each retailer, and we kind of go to the retailer and we like understand their needs and what they do today for return, if they do any returns, before we come to them with what we offer fully. So to understand the end-to-end process, see what their pain points are, see what they would like to improve on. And then, we can take that information internally, look against what our end-to-end solution offers and what capabilities we have. And that can give us, the confidence to go back to the retailer and offer them a viable return solution that works for them. And going back to my point with the destruction and donation opportunities that we do have in country without clearing the customs headache that a lot of retailers don't want to deal with, we can lower some aspects of cost there, and that could probably be very beneficial for those smaller, accounts, smaller clients.
In episode 10, with our special guest and now co-host Jason Rowland, who is Asendia's Risk and Compliance Officer in North America, We talked about how HS codes are vital for online brands looking to expand their global e-commerce footprint, as these codes ensure that shipments are properly categorized, taxed, and compliant with import regulations.
One thing that's very vitally important, though, is understanding the importance of HS codes. So, Jason, can you talk to us a little bit about what they mean, what they represent, what the actual digits mean to different countries, different things?
Yeah.
All things.
Obviously, when you're moving things internationally, there's ways that countries do import and export regulation, right?
Okay.
And one of the things that they have to do is make sure that the item that you're sending is properly coded, is properly taxed, is properly dutied, is safe to be transported on a plane, safe to be transported via ocean, or however the route is that you're looking to move it. They need to make sure that the item that they're moving on your behalf is known.
Okay.
So one of the ways that they do that is they have this system called the HS code system. It's a harmonized tariff system.
Globally, right?
Yeah.
Globally.
And the first 6 digits of that code are an HS code, and that code is going to tell the inbound customs authority exactly what this item is that you're sending. Is it clothing? Is it a mahogany table? Is it a fridge? Whatever the item is going to have a code associated with it.
Okay.
It's not too far removed from like a SKU or a barcode that you would imagine would be necessary to do that kind of a transaction. It's an individually specific number for each type of item that they know this is what we should expect to see in this box if we were to open it up.
It's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, so those first 6 digits are going to be the item, right? It's going to be generic, universal to every country. Right? They all use the same 6 digits. After that, right, you can get more specific.
Okay.
And then those are where we get into the up to 8 digits or up to 10 digits. And those are for more country-specific items, where countries will have different interpretations of the types of items that they will and won't accept. Right? So some countries, I can send dog food from the United States into some countries, and I can't send it to other countries.
Like Canada.
Like Canada specifically.
Yes.
So if those 6 and 8 digit extensions of an HS code are country specific and really let them get granular on yes, this is a cotton t-shirt, but it's a 50% synthetic blend as opposed to just a straight cotton t-shirt.
Sure.
Or it's made from other agricultural byproducts like silk or something that is either chemically made or something that is naturally occurring like fur or silk or something like that. So it allows you to get really granular on what your item is so that it can be taxed properly, so that it can be imported properly. And then everyone knows exactly what they're expecting, because there's obviously different thoughts on agriculture, right? If it's an animal byproduct or something like that, then some people, they don't want it, or they do want it, or they want to charge more for it, or that kind of thing.
I mean, what's the latest on the fur trades?
Right?
I'm kidding.
Yeah, you wouldn't think that it would be one of those things that would still be around or would still
Probably
be
is, though.
necessary. But yeah, it's you can't. There's some countries where you can't just pick up and send them a fur coat.
We wrapped up 2024 with the global CEO of Asendia, Simon Batt, who shared valuable insights on how e-commerce retailers can expand their reach into international markets, highlighting significant opportunities for U.S. retailers in markets like Canada, the UK, and Australia, as well as the emerging potential in regions such as the Middle East and Southeast Asia.
There's a huge audience, and especially if you're in the fashion space, skincare, cosmetics, any of those direct consumer goods, there's a huge opportunity to grow and expand. So any thoughts on that?
Yeah, lots. I mean, one of the things you said, Nick, which makes a lot of sense, and especially just thinking about from a US perspective, of course, is that, the US as a destination market is one of the top destination markets. If I talk to my team members in UK, in Europe, in Asia Pacific, what they're all talking about is how can they link their retailers and their customers with shoppers in the US. So to a certain perspective, putting on a kind of a frame of a US e-com retailer point of view, you're going to face, whether you like it or not in a nice way, you're going to face increasing competition from retailers selling to US shoppers. So that global game, whether it's local, whether it's regional, whether it's intercontinental, that's the way people are going if they're looking for growth. When economic times globally are a bit tough, by definition, my conviction is that the retailers who are looking to grow are going to look to new markets. And the US is a new market for some non-US retailers. So the opposite applies. If you're in the US looking for growth, then starting to look at new markets is super important. And of course, you've mentioned some good ones, Nick. You've got Canada and Mexico, let's say on your very, very big doorstep, obviously, but on your doorsteps, you've got significant flows to the UK, to Australia, to New Zealand. You've then got the European Union, where you can sort of enter as a kind of have it as a package deal, if you will. So it seems to me that for retailers and marketplaces that are looking to grow, certainly as we move from 24 into 2025, it's going to be a key part of many retailers' strategies. And of course, there's some things here as well just to comment on around, yes, it's obviously about accessing customers, but there's just a word of advice as well on technology, because when you're starting to access different markets, of course, you need to start thinking about language, payment methodologies. Do you need cash on delivery? How do you manage foreign exchange conversions? How do you ensure you can incorporate duty and tax calculation into your checkout pages? And those are some of the things that, as you go through that journey, it can get quite complicated with some markets, ID collection, for example. But there are people out there that can help. We're one of them. But having companies that can help you navigate that complexity to source new customers in new markets, I think is super critical.
Share, subscribe, and download our podcast. To learn more about today's topic or for a free consultation, email us at ecommerce.usa@asendia.com. Come back for more insightful discussions on e-commerce shipping to Canada, Mexico, and worldwide.